obviously IMU-856 has a very nice impact on GLP-1 and maybe therefore also offer a new way to treat obesity with this drug.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Immunic CEO, Dr. Daniel Vitt. Daniel, very good to speak with you today. Earlier, you released an interesting update on your IMU-856 development program, potentially expanding its indications. Could you walk us through the update, please?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Stephen. Yeah, this morning we announced some interesting new data. You may remember or recall that the drug was tested in a clinical study in patients with celiac disease. And interestingly, we just now found out that the drug has some interesting further pharmacological activity. Specifically, it impacts in the patient the GLP-1 levels, where the drug obviously increases the endogenous levels of GLP-1 in the patients in a dose-dependent fashion, and that with even achieving high statistical significance in the highest dose tested of 160 milligram after 29 days of treatment.
Could you tell us what GLP-1 actually is? What's its role and effect in the body?
Well, GLP-1 is a hormone which occurs naturally in the gut and is mainly released after eating and helps the body to regulate blood sugar. And it's part of the so-called incretins hormones, which you may be familiar. There are hormone derivatives or drugs which are mimicking GLP-1 currently used as injectables for treating obesity.
So could you provide more details on what you actually saw in the post-hoc analysis of your phase 1b clinical trial?
Yeah, of course. So we had 11 patients with placebo, 13 patients with 80, and 13 patients with 160 milligram treatment of IMU-856, treated for 4 weeks. And we compared the baseline GLP-1 data for those patients with the data after 2 weeks of treatment and 29 days of treatment. And then the measurements were done in the morning in a fasted stage of the patients. And we have seen a very nice dose-dependent and time-dependent increase of the baseline GLP-1 levels of up to 250% for the patients treated with a high dose of 160 milligram for 4 weeks. It's important to mention that during that treatment, also the patients received a gluten challenge after 2 weeks. So despite gluten challenge, we see that interesting increase of baseline GLP-1 levels.
You also generated new preclinical data to support this rationale. Could you share the details with us, please?
Yeah, I think this was the initial finding when we did our chronic safety studies for the drug, which include 6 months treatment of rats to really make sure that we do totally observe any potential side effects there. We have seen a remarkable, nice reduction, a dose-dependent reduction of weight gain in those animals. What is done in these preclinical studies? Usually, you start with juvenile animals here and then treat them for 6 months with the drug. And we used here 3 different doses: 10, 25, and 75 milligram per kilogram, compared with placebo treatment. And it's remarkable to see a 40% lower weight gain in the high dose animals, 23% for the 25 milligram, and 18% for the 10 milligram. So that's very nicely in line with the observed GLP-1 change in the human in the patients tested as part of the celiac disease phase 1 study. So it gives a very consensus picture that obviously IMU-856 has a very nice impact on GLP-1 and maybe therefore also offer a new way to treat obesity with this drug.
I mean, obesity is a huge market with millions of people affected worldwide, Daniel. Which treatments are available to date, and what's the future market potential?
I think to date there are a couple of treatments of incretin mimetics, so-called GLP-1 or GIP mimicry. Well-known drugs these days. They are injectables, usually used as subcutaneous injections. The overall market for obesity treatments is expected to grow to 170 billion by recent analysis of institutes. So it's a huge thing because I think the impact on the health system is big from overweight. And therefore, patients need these drugs and need more alternatives. And I think the good thing about IMU-856, looking on the data we've generated so far, could really mean that the drug may offer a new mode of action with an oral treatment, which would then be easy to handle with an attractive safety profile. So we think that the drug could really be an interesting new treatment option for obesity as well.
Well, Daniel, thanks very much for sharing that latest development with us. I hope you'll keep us posted on any progress.
Thank you.